sign in if you have not already. Yep. Juan, is that you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. According to policy, I just want to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded. And I will call this meeting to order. Stand with me, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank everyone for being here. And next, we're going to go through the consent agenda. Do we make a motion to approve it afterward or before?
Afterwards.
Okay. Everyone have a chance to look at the agenda? Any questions?
I have a correction. There's minor corrections in the hiring committee meeting minutes. And I wrote these minutes and I read these minutes and I still put the wrong thing there. So just at the very bottom, it says the school board meeting is going to be July 18th and today is the 16th. So I wrote the wrong thing. Sorry.
All right. How about the regular meeting minutes? Did everyone have a chance to do that? Any questions for June 18th? All look good. Hiring committee, any other changes, questions? Policy committee, meeting minutes, June 27th.
Good.
Special meeting minutes, July 8th. Current claims summary.
I did it today. Good.
Thank you, Jason.
I'm going to pass that around. There are 3 claims ones this time. 2 of them I had Rick do because they were between board meetings. One was a reimbursement check and the other was the check that I sent to the interlocal fund that you guys saw on the report, the cash report. If you review the cash fund report, that's on there. So that's why there's 3 of these to additional, and then the payroll one covered with additional.
Let me see. All right, payroll for June 2024 register. Questions, thoughts, discussion? Okay. 2024 student attendance agreements.
So are these 2 new ones coming in and one new one leaving?
That's correct. So the 2 new ones coming in, we have room in that grade. So that's why they're on there with no real explanation. And the one going out is not new. That's a returning. Yeah.
I don't know if you can answer this, but out of curiosity, the 2 new 5th graders, are they boys or girls?
Can't answer that.
So, okay. There's a large population of boys in the 5th grade.
Trust me, I was in that class last year.
I think 3 of us have boys
Yes, you
in
do.
that.
I was in that class last year, so.
They could stand to have maybe some less testosterone.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
All right. No, we are, and can I take a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Approved. Motion approves the consent agenda. Now we are on to public comment. This is the time for public comment on public matters that are not on the main agenda. Members of the audience are encouraged to briefly address the trustees on an issue that is not on the agenda. The chairman of the board will seek comments from the audience on significant items as they occur. Public matters do not include any pending legal matters, private personnel issues, or private student issues. Please do not attempt to address such issues at this time or you will be ruled out of order. To everyone has an opportunity to speak. Each speaker will be given a 2-minute time limit. Is there any public comment? Okay. All right, thank you. We are moving next to our informational items and reports versus the administrator's report.
So first of all, welcome everybody. I'm glad that it's not quite hot today. So just letting you know some information. So we did receive the summer school grant for $25,000. We learned through verbal communication on July 3rd that we were going to receive it, and on July 5th, which was the day after July 4th, of course, we got that written confirmation, and summer school was scheduled to start on July 9th with students. So what we did is we moved it to July 10th where it started with students, and then July 9th was a work day for teachers and to get things going. So I'd like to thank Ms. Hansen for making phone calls to get things up and running, because it was a whirlwind. It was like a tornado, and all of a sudden we had to find staff because other staff had moved to different things because it was such late notice, and we had to let our parents know, and but it all worked out. So we have 29 students enrolled, and we had room for 30. So it went very well. So Ms. Hansen did a good job with that. Facilities maintenance. So letting you know that the little doorway that you see right there, the entryway, we replaced all of the stinky old carpets with that flooring in the entrances of all the buildings. We put new paint in the halls in the 100 building over there, so it looks and smells a lot better. A little brighter, so you can see where you're going. We still have enough money in our ESSER money that is designated for flooring, so we're going to do the music room and we're going to do the library. So that's coming up, and that money is already earmarked for that. So that's exciting news. As far as personnel, we are still advertising for a part-time K-8 counselor. In addition to our school district, Columbia Falls, Eureka, and Marion are also seeking counselors right now. So it's a hard position to fill. So we keep our fingers crossed, and make sure that's updated regularly. So always at the top of the pile to be updated. Good news for volleyball. So our nets are here. That's what that pile of stuff is over there, and that's in the poles. And so that's all going to be installed July 29th through the 30th. That's a tentative date, but hopefully that'll work, and that's exciting news. I will be gone next week, Sunday through Wednesday. I'll be attending the School Administrators of Montana Administrative Institute in Helena, so I'll be on to that. And the following week, I'm going on vacation for 3 days. So that is my report.
On that, sorry. On that part-time counselor.
Yes.
I think one of the schools you mentioned was Marion.
And so I thought that I was told actually that they had filled the position, but it turns out they have not filled it.
Are they looking full-time,
So they're
part-time?
looking part-time, and I've already communicated it with them. Yeah, and so the good thing about working in this valley is all of the superintendents communicate regularly with each other, and they let you know, I'm looking for a part-time this person or a full-time that person. Anybody know anybody, you're interviewing left is a good possibility, so we pass the information along. So it's a really great team of administrators in this valley.
I was just gonna ask on that grant for the summer school, is it always that late? Or is
No.
it just?
No, this was just I don't know what the problem was, because my application was May 10th is when it went in. And I do not know what happened, because before we've had it started in June, like the week
Right.
after school, right? So I know there were a lot of school districts scrambling, and myself talking to PI personnel, they had a lot of schools that were scrambling to try and fix things because of the
Okay.
same thing, yeah.
Yeah, because what do we have for students for summer school?
29.
We did get 29?
Yeah,
Okay,
29.
okay.
So we're fortunate. The other thing is the summer school has certain parameters, so this year is different from the previous
July. So I hold that balance over because we don't take any credit card transactions in typically in the month of July, but we end up having to pay fees out. So if I don't hold a balance in there, then we can get into trouble in July. So I typically don't write us that check. It's a pass-through account is what the credit card clearing account is. So we take in credit card transactions via Square for either the PJ Club or like extracurricular, anything that we use credit card transactions for, we take it through there, and then we write a check out of the credit card clearing account into either like the general fund or extracurricular fund with this money, okay? So I left the $390 in it right now because in July, we'll have fees, but no income, and I don't know what that will be exactly, so I just don't touch it until August is typically when I'll write the check back, when we're starting to get income again. So, just so everybody knows why there's a balance in there. Usually I leave like $6, so $390 is not common. Okay? And then the cash report. The cash balancing this month was really fun. Let me just start with that. So, if you read any of my notes, you saw that I was working with the county, working with Black Mountain, working with, anyway, it was quite the endeavor this time. So, the result is that the county has new software this year, and they're recording their protested taxes different than they have in the past. And so it's hitting our cash balance different than it has in the past, which is why it put me off they're small amounts, right? $53, $6, $26, like those little amounts. And I'm the one that initiated emails with all the clerks in the valley because I said, what's going on? Is anybody else facing this? What are you guys seeing? And it was an everybody problem. So I said, well then if it's an everybody problem, it's a county problem. It's not a clerk problem. So then I circled back to the county and started talking to the county about it. And then they went back and said it's their software. So we ended up coming to a solution. So I've now fixed it in our book so that these are zeros down it. But at the time that I sent you guys these reports, this is the information that I had. So that's what you get. The other one is when I sent my transfer letter to the county, which tells them what funds to transfer between the clearing accounts, which is the payroll and claims ones at the bottom, and our actual funds up above. For some reason, I didn't include the multi-district transfer, the check that I had Rick sign, that one for the $454,000. I ran that check, printed that check before I ever ran my reports for my transfer letter, but clearly it wasn't on that transfer letter because if you notice, the exact same negative in the general fund is the exact same positive in the claims clearing account. So that will write itself in July, and we're just out of balance with the county. We're not out of balance internally. So our books are correct. We wrote the check in the correct fiscal year. We paid it out so that it went to our multi-district interlocal fund within the right fiscal year. But that's why you get all these really fun notes this time. The payroll account was out of balance. I had to take it in with Black Mountain. We finally resolved that this morning. So I figured out what was going on with that. Again, internal had to do with a check to TRS that I had to cancel and rewrite. And it's been a really fun 5 days between all the different phone calls that I've been trying to get this balanced. I wrote a note next to the 170 fund for you guys so that you knew exactly how much PJ Club ended up in the hole, since I know that that's an item on the agenda, just so you guys know in case you don't have the attachments on the agenda pulled up in front of you. It was $7,182.68 is what I had to transfer of expenses out of the PJ Club and into the general fund, because it can't end negative, it's a cash account, so we have to transfer those expenses somewhere else. Thankfully, we had room in our general fund to cover those expenses this year. Going forward, as we've talked about, that's not really going to be a thing that we have.
So what was that last year? Because we were having that same issue, weren't we, with that PJ Club being in the red? Was it 3,500?
Yeah, this is more.
Yeah. So how did it become more? Because did we add?
And we increased the cost to attend PJ Club. Yep.
Was there a late
sure
fee if
did.
they were late, or did we implement something like that?
Yes, we did.
And we still ended up,
In the hole. Yep.
Very few were late, and we gave everybody a one-time free because they didn't know that, they didn't understand the program. So in the fall, we gave it to them for free. It said, you can't do this again, and most of them did not ever do it
okay.
again.
But how did we end up almost 3,500 more?
We have a lot less kids coming because the rates are higher.
You increase rates.
It's actually working parents that are using it, not people that just want babysitting.
Right.
So it's
Okay.
fewer kids.
And we're gonna talk about PJ Club further down.
Right, yeah, that's
But, no, you're fine. But I think that's about the gist of, I think that's more than you've ever heard about the cash report ever.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of information there. The revenue report, you'll notice that all the funds have fully received their revenue. That's what you would expect in June. If you see them at like the 101, 102%, it's because of interest. Those are all, we don't budget for interest. I don't budget for interest because we never know what it's gonna be. So those pop into the revenue account and there they are. It doesn't change our budget authority. It just changes how much revenue we actually receive. Doesn't change what we can actually spend. Okay? And then on the expenditure report, the general fund is a 0, which means I did what I was supposed to do. I made sure that we spent all of our budget authority in the general fund, so it ends at a 0 balance at the end of the year. The transportation fund, you'll see it's a negative balance. It's not actually a negative balance. We did an amendment. If you guys remember, those of you that were on the board back then, we did an amendment in the transportation fund this year because we took in couple of late TR4 forms, so we ended up having to do an amendment. This number, this negative, that's the amount of the amendment that we did. So that balances to a 0 as well. I did not add the amendment in as revenue, as budget authority on here because I wanted to have an exact track record of what that we spent that completely, if that makes sense to you guys. And these are internal reports, right? So again, it's just based on what do I put in the system and what the system gives back to me. So if I tell it our budget is this, then that's what it's going to report back on. So that's how we got there. The tuition fund, we fully expended that. We're down to a 0. Retirement fund is always a little bit of a guessing game as to, I do my reporting, I do my budgeting, and that's what we came out with left. It doesn't really matter if we have extra left there. We can only spend it on what we can spend it on. It's very letter of the law, so we don't get to just spend it on whatever we want to. So it just sits there. You guys know we don't budget the miscellaneous fund in there, so that's why it looks like it's in the hole, but it's not. And then tech and flex fund, we didn't spend much in those funds this year. Those are non-replenishing funds, so if we spend them, they're gone. So try not to touch those and kind of save them for a rainy day. Okay, any questions on those so far? We doing okay? I'm going a little bit more in depth in June because obviously we're at fiscal year end, right? Okay, Fund 15 balancing. The only thing I want to address on Fund 15 balancing is this report is not final. It is now, the one that I have in my system is now final because once I get to here, I look at this and say, okay, in our wellness incentive funds, we have a negative $250. We can't end with a negative $250 there. So I have to move $250 of those expenditures into a different fund. Typically, I would have done that before I gave you guys this report, but I got the reports from the county last Wednesday, and then thus ensued all the fun with the cash balancing. So I did all of these balancing things in the last couple of days. So the negative 250 is no longer there. The 26 cents in the gifted and talented line is no longer there. Those kinds of things are cleaned up now. So you'll see that reflected on July's reporting, but I just wanted to let you know that that stuff, I made those adjustments in June. You're just not gonna see them on your report. Does that make sense? Sweet. And Fund 61, nothing to report there. You guys know what we're doing in our building reserve fund.
Okay.
That's way more than I usually do.
Thanks, Dustin. We appreciate it. Okay. Now we are on to our action agenda. Following items are for consideration and possible action. Any offer of employment is contingent upon the receipt of satisfactory criminal history background check and satisfactory drug and alcohol screening results, and for some positions, receipt of satisfactory pre-employment screening. First item is hire Jay Eastman as custodian.
I move to hire Jay Eastman as custodian.
I'll second that.
Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'll take a motion for classified staff contracts individually.
So I listed them individually, but if you guys are comfortable making a You can, that's up to the board, because they're all under item 2, so you could technically make one motion and just approve all of them, if that's how whoever makes the motion wants to do it.
Didn't have any discussion with me.
I'll take a motion and then we can
I
discuss.
move to accept the classified contracts as listed.
We'll second that.
All right, any
Thank you.
further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
No, thank you.
Motion passes. Next item is after-school PJ Club.
So I worked with Mrs. Breland, and she printed up reports for every account for every day of the entire year, because the program that we have does not give you the information that you need. So I went through and I highlighted who was here till 4 o'clock, who was here till 4:30, who was here till 5. And so this is the information that I came up with in the chart that you see. So on the left-hand side of the chart, you see the number of students that were here, like from 3:15 to 4 o'clock. And then for the entire month of September.
Can I stop just to make
Yes.
sure you're on the PJ Club
PJ Club.
staff children attendance tab?
No, I'm on PJ Club proposal, the first one. So we went by how many kids were actually there. So 3:15 to 4 o'clock in September, we had 76 kids. From 4:01 to 4:30, we had 96 kids. 4:31 to 5 o'clock, we had 107 kids, and 5:01 to 5:30 p.m., we had 111 kids. That was for the entire month of September. When you go to the right-hand side of the chart, what you see is the total number of students present. So for the entire month of September, from 3:15 to 4 o'clock, we had 390 kids present, which averaged out to 21 students per day until 4 o'clock. Then at 4 o'clock, we lost 4 of those kids. So from 4:01 to 4:30, we ended up with 314 kids left for the entire month of September, which averaged out to 17 students per day. Then 4:31 to 5 o'clock, we lost some of those kids because they went home, so we had 218 kids left, which ended up to be an average of 12 students per day. And then by 5:01 to 5:30, we had 111 kids left for the entire month, which averaged out to be 6 kids per day. So you see, what you're seeing in the green column going down is the total number of kids for the entire month. And then as we moved over to the yellow column, some went home, they were picked up. Orange column, more kids were picked up. The blue column is what you were left with at the end of the day. Keeping in mind that you had 2 staff members present the entire time.
So with that being said, can you explain to me then why were we another 3,500 short if we have this many kids and we raised the rates?
So what you'll notice is, like in the green column under total present, you have an average of 21 students per day.
Right.
By 4:30, that was basically cut in half in each column.
So Josh, I don't have, or I don't think Dawn has in front of her either, the statistics for what these numbers were last year.
Okay.
So this is only
This is just for this.
23, 24
Right,
school year,
okay.
so we have to pull the 22, 23 school year data in order to see, did we,
See the
you know,
change. See
how
the
much
change.
did the
Yeah.
numbers go down from what?
Which I'm sure it's a lot because like you said, you raised it, so less parents were dropping their kids off. But it's, for me, it's just kind of like, okay, we raised the rate, we have a certain amount of kids, we shouldn't be an extra 3,500 short.
So.
That's how I'm like,
Yeah,
That's
well,
not
it makes
making
you
sense.
wonder, and like I said, we don't have the data in front of us, but it makes you wonder how many kids were there the previous year?
Right.
Was there maybe 500 instead of 390?
right,
I don't know, but that's my wondering based on the dollars.
okay, okay.
Right, so.
Because what is it now for a kid?
Right now, it's $3 per hour per child, and it's billed in 15-minute increments.
No, it's built an hourly.
Oh, it's now an hourly
Yeah, we
increment?
changed we call it ProCare this year and changed it to hourly.
So they're billed for an entire hour, they
Yes.
only stay
Yes.
for 15 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. I
So
see.
then what was it the year before we took it? Was it
It was two, but then you got a discount for additional kids.
Right, they were half price, weren't they?
Half price at any kid
And
after.
we took away the half price, right?
Yeah,
Right, okay.
yeah, we made it a per kid rate.
Because yeah, a family of four could put their 4 kids in for $5 an hour.
$5
to have
an
4
hour.
kids watched.
Thank you for that correction.
Yeah. And does that numbers count the staff kids that do not pay?
No, the staff kids are on a different page.
Okay.
So you see, there's another tab that has the number of staff children in attendance. So in September, the total number of children in attendance were 21 for the whole entire month. So throughout the month of September.
If you go over to the second tab, 7 of those were staff kids. Is that accurate?
7 just that stayed till 4 o'clock. If you go all the way over to the
Right, but I mean,
side-
you're saying there's 21 in the green under total present for September, average, daily average?
No, that's the total for the entire month. The entire month.
Average.
So I didn't do the daily average on this September for the staff.
Well, it's 21.
Staff showed
Daily average.
us 21 total for the whole month.
So 7 divided by 18 or whatever,
Yeah.
is how you're averaging it.
What's your question?
How many days do you figure in a month?
Oh, so I can tell you.
18, 19, 16, that's
So it tells you on this chart right here, so there were 18 school days.
Right. So you're looking at like a 1 1/4 kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask, so did we notice a difference? Obviously, we charge a little bit more, which is still pretty inexpensive. Do you think it would benefit us if we knocked out a day versus 5 days?
I mean, like take off like Fridays or
Like
something?
take off Fridays, because I'm noticing like we go into later in the year, it gets less and less and less.
Well, some of that's due to sports.
Right, okay.
A lot of it's due to sport.
Yeah, a lot of it's due to sports. Because like during basketball season, and those kids that would have been there are no longer.
We're no longer there,
basketball
right,
season.
okay.
And volleyball season and cross country, it pulls a lot of kids in cross country.
Sure.
That's kindergarten through the 8th grade.
So would it be something that would be worth it to look at as far as wages with 2 people and then knocking out a day?
So we could take a look at that. I gave you some options at the bottom of that PJ Club proposal. So to no longer offer PJ Club would be an option. To leave PJ Club exactly as it is with the current rates. To leave PJ Club schedule the same as it is would increase the rates to $3 per child until 4 p.m. with $2 per child in half-hour increments after 4 o'clock. And then the fourth one was to offer PJ Club from 3:15 to 4:30, that's where our rates, attendance drops from at 4:30, it drops basically like half for the entire year. And then to keep PJ Club going from 3:15 to 5 o'clock while increasing the rates as above. So looking at eliminating that fifth day is a possibility, we would
I
say.
think we gotta be careful on what we eliminate because we're worried about the kids.
Exactly, I was just gonna say, how many kids are we gonna lose by families that will have to go somewhere else?
Because
And what does that A and B money add up to?
So if they come after school and they start from 3:10 to 4:10, they're charged the $3. And then 4:10 to 5:10, they're paying another $3. And so if you cut it off, and we have to reprogram the whole computer system again with Procare, I don't know what that charges.
We'll have to regardless, because we're
Right.
$7,000 a month.
But can you reprogram if we just did it the hourly, like raise an hourly rate? But if we do the half-hour increments, are you gonna be able to do that yourself, or do we have to call it?
We'll have to call them regardless.
Okay,
What is kind of charge?
so I just throw it out there, I called Kyla and Trish called Kyla, and then I looked up online through all the outlying schools who had like a Puddle Jumper Club, and Deer Park and Kyla are the only ones that offer it, and they're actually charging $6 a kid for their first kid, and $4 for every kid after at Kyla. Deer Park is $6 a kid for the first kid, and $4 whether you have another 2 or 3 kids or whatever, it's just $4 for the rest of the
Per hour.
family. Per hour. So if you have 2 kids, it'd be $10 an hour. And then I had Miss Kayla Strand looked up the Sparks at the summit for me, and they charge about $7 to $9. for the whole day. So they must get funds from the health center help to do that.
Yeah,
So
they
it's
get
a
a
much
grant.
cheaper program. But, those are only two outlying schools. I think District 5 has a program, but they don't advertise it on any of their, I looked on a bunch of their school
I don't know if
websites
each
and I
school
cannot
has it or if
find it.
only certain
Well,
ones.
because A.U. Nelson works in one, but none of this, he works at Russell, and then someone said they do it at Hedges, and I looked at several of them, and nobody
It's like
has.
they're bus. I think they're bus to another school, like everybody loads on
Yeah,
the
but
bus.
they don't have any information on their website at all about any after-school programs.
Yeah, yes.
So I work with a gal whose daughter attends Russell School, and they are bused from Russell, and I think some of the other line ones to, the school by St. Matt's, what is that?
Like Elron.
Elrod, and they are charged $10 a day, whether they're there for 15 minutes or they're there until 5:30. They have to know, I think, by noon, that they have to pay by noon the day that they're going to attend. So, I mean,
They have to pay ahead of time.
yes, we're supposed to, but it's really hard to.
Well, and then the problem with that is if they haven't paid and we say they can't go, then we end up sitting at the office and the parents still don't show up to pick them up. Trish has had that before.
Lots of kids, yeah, and then we're not getting money for it then. I think the working parents are going to pay. I mean, I'm willing to pay. I work till 5.
Yeah, if it's $5 an hour, they're still gonna pay.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think we've got to have a set rate. I would say, my suggestion would be let's get away from this $2 half hour, 50 cent, 20 minute.
Absolutely.
Let's just have a flat rate and let's raise it because this is year 2 now, being in the hole an extra 3,500. Hopefully next year, we're not in the hole another 3,500.
So when you,
Well, there's a certain amount we
So
can
$5,
get all
let's
that's
say for instance 5, instead of just say 3. and
What'd you say,
then
Bob?
I said there's a certain amount it's okay.
Just say you're fine.
Saving
Perfect.
If we're raising our A and B by losing a little bit of money, but 7,000 is too much.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, especially when we raised the rate and it was a late fee, like you're saying, a lot of people.
A lot of people got
weren't-
that first one. and
Yeah, they were
said,
picking them up.
We'll give it to you because you didn't know.
Right.
And a couple of them did do charge again and they got charged.
Yeah, absolutely.
The
So,
problem
but
with
very
ending
few-
it at 5 is people get off work at 5. So they
Right.
need that transportation time. And if you've ever driven from Kalispell out to here at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you're not doing it in 15 minutes.
Oh, you can do it in like 45 minutes.
Yes. Like, I don't think that you can change it from 5 to 8. I don't. I don't think you can change it to like 5, because I think you have to leave it to 5:30. We used to do it till 6.
I was using it until 6 when I worked in outside school, and that was my lifeline because I knew my kids were safe. I mean, honestly, I knew my kids were safe, and they were young, but still, I knew they were safe, and I knew where they were, and it wasn't like a hard, like stressing out a parent, and I was willing to pay whatever it was. Judy can answer. I call. How much money do I?
Constantly.
Oh.
You're fine, Tracy, you have
Oh,
money on your account.
And that would freak me out because I didn't want to lose the program because as a parent, you're freaking out going, okay, this is my lifeline.
Yeah, that's 100% ours. And I think, and you're in out of district family, so.
Correct.
And we chose this district because
the PJ program.
because of the PJ program, because at that point in time, Kyla didn't have one, Marion didn't have one, and we both work in town, so.
Well, there's no doubt, I mean, it's a valuable resource,
Right.
and we need to do everything we can.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we can't get rid of it. The number of kids we would lose by getting rid of BJ Club.
Because I actually think it's an incentive that we might actually gain children because we have it.
100%, that's why we're here.
And that's why a couple other
And they're
families.
adding an extra kid this year, so yeah, kindergarten. Yeah, we have, so we're losing 2 from their family, and we have a friend in Marion that's also picking up for 2 kids. And her brother would have to move and move 2 kids there, so you got 4 kids,
Yeah.
2
To
families.
me, everybody else is charging $6 or more.
I like the per day idea, like what you were just saying and what you said, the per day idea, I like it because you can budget it.
Yep.
It's simple.
It is simple. The only thing that we don't know is how many kids. Because that's really the X in the equation, right? Of how many kids are we gonna get and how many kids do we need in order to break even, essentially. You could do the how many kids do we need in order to break even, and you could do it on your lower average number and say, based on that number of kids and that number of days, and do your math and say, we have to charge 10 bucks a day or 15 bucks a day or whatever the number equates to, you could do some backwards algebra there and get a number.
With no discount for additional children, it's just
I
that
would
flat every
discount for a
child.
second
Just
child,
like
that
10
is
or
a lot of
$12.
trouble.
Because you have 2.5 hours of staff, correct? So 5 hours.
5 hours of staff.
So if you average between benefits and pay of $20 an hour, we have to make $100 a day. You need 10 kids.
That
You
doesn't
need 10
matter.
kids.
And I think you
Well-
can have that at the beginning.
There's 2,
Wow.
there's 2, I know of another 2, there's 4.
I know
Well,
of
charging a per day rate eliminates the problem of the pickup time.
Yes.
That's the deal about charging a per day rate.
Right. We have to
It
pay the
doesn't
staff.
matter if they
We're
come-
paying 2 people, no matter whether there's
Right.
5 kids in there or 10.
Well, I went ahead and I ran numbers for the month of September, and I decided, because of the amount of time that it took me to do this, because I do it manually, not just to do it for September, but I can just tell you, I'll just read the numbers that I have here for each day, so, and this would go for the entire time from like 3:15 until 5:30, so a total of 14, 18, 13, 17, 14, 27, 30, 20, 17, 20, 25, 13, 23, 16, 27, 18, 25, 24, 22. So that's the entire 2.5 hours right there, or 2 hours.
Which the lowest amount you said there was?
So the lowest amount that I
13.
had was 13.
Yeah.
Yes.
That we're here till 5:30.
That
So
was-
you're talking
That was your-
2.5 hours of Big Club, right?
So, well, from 3:15 to 5:30, so
3:10.
2.25. Yeah.
I think you do a day rate increase it, and the value is there for those who use it, and there's other obstacles that you'll see kids sitting in the office. I think we deal with those issues as they come.
Well, they can make sure that if she's gonna be the babysitter, they can afford her money.
I'll get
Some side cash, if you're gonna do it.
Good job, yeah.
The office is gonna be packed.
Exactly.
I'm gonna start that job and say, Josh told me.
Josh said.
Then what we need to do is figure out where our number needs to be if we're gonna do a flat rate.
Well, we need to figure out where our number needs to be, and then we need to hopefully monitor this a little bit better and make sure we don't end up in the red again. Because at a flat rate, if we end up in the red again, somebody's buying a new car because, yeah,
But
it
if you go
doesn't make
for,
sense.
if you assume that those 2 employees, it's gonna, like with benefits is $100 for each day. You need 10 kids at $10. That's it. You
Yeah.
need 10 kids. There's 2 right here. There's another, there's 4. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think you're gonna be there.
Well,
Yeah.
none of these numbers are lower than 10, so you
Right.
got at least.
Well, assuming that they're still gonna use it then.
Correct. But
Most of them
yeah.
will.
Some of your early people, kids may
I
not.
think last year you took care of the people who were dismissed.
Yes, agreed.
Yes, I agree.
We did.
I think the most of the people now are working parents that can't get here at 3:15.
And for $10, that's a
Or
huge
5:30
value.
or 5 o'clock, yeah.
$10 or $12
Easy.
a kid is,
Yeah, then they can go out for
I would say, well,
Well, that's just it. They don't have to be
That's so
here.
nice.
They don't have to be here till 5:30. So, because they're paying till 5:30.
But that's
Now, let me ask you this one question. What about the kids that are in basketball and their practice ends at 5, and we're talking 30 minutes? Are you still gonna charge them $10? Because that is gonna come up, because there are some parents that,
And some of the olders go from 3:30 till 5
in practice.
for practice. And then they
So
start at
is there
5.
gonna be something different? It's just,
Pro
okay.
Care will do one formula.
Okay, no, I was just curious.
Just so you know that would be a lot harder if we're gonna do a flat rate.
How many kids do you have left over?
Where are you getting the 10 kid number from?
3 or
If we
4.
need-
Just
Because I said,
estimated.
if you take the average between their pay and their benefits and say
For
$20 an
basketball.
hour, right?
Cross country.
You got 2.5 hours, you got 5 hours of people, so you got $100 a day in staff.
Of expenses.
Yeah, I thought you said 200, so that's.
No,
what I
so you
figured.
need 10 kids.
100, got it.
So yeah, I was just,
but you don't really, you gotta add another 30% on
I
the
know,
employer cost.
Well, I did, because they're not making, I said with their benefits and their pay, it still would come out to a little less than
That's gonna
20.
be a high estimate, because, yeah.
That's a high estimate.
There's
But-
not very many kids.
Per hour?
What's that?
We're saying per hour, less than 20?
Per day.
Per day, per day.
Well, each of those employees.
Each employee.
So for example, one of them made like $16.50. I know that the benefits that the school provides is not another $3.50. That's why I'm packaging it.
No,
up
but
to
you
20.
have employer cost.
That's what I'm saying.
That's not benefits. Employer cost is employer cost.
But Lacey's
When you
formula
pay a
has all-
certain amount of, social security, the
Right.
school also pays that amount.
Right, and so Lacey, would it be more than $3.50? That's where I'm coming up
That's in
with
the
20.
retirement fund, so that's that fund 14 is where most of those costs are incurred is in the retirement fund.
Yeah, so it's,
They wouldn't hit the vehicle fund, so that's why I'm saying that
That's
is
high.
probably pretty accurate.
so you need 10 kids. But like I said, I was just curious on what happens with that one. And I mean, we actually have people that go, well, my kid's in 8th grade, they can babysit themselves, but I don't know why I have to pay you. Well, they're on the school grounds and they're being watched. And
Then they can go and look at it. So-
Well, and like Josh said, again, same as last year, the board can monitor it every month, which is what you guys did last year. You just didn't make changes.
Yeah.
You didn't make changes throughout the year, and part of that is because you knew that we had the money to cover it, right? You knew that if it ran in the hole, we were okay as a school district.
Time to make a change.
So-
Well, if you look at this, what
Yeah.
Don did, I mean, if you go scroll all the way down through the whole year, it drops to under 10 kids. I mean, quite a bit, from basically November on.
That's your
You're
start.
talking like 5,
Yeah,
7.
especially starting at
5.
4:30.
Is
Yeah,
that the beginning of the day or the end of the day?
that's from 5 to 5:30.
So what's your beginning
Right.
number? Is it 30 kids? So that's gonna make up for
Yeah,
the shop.
start, you always want to start in that green zone.
If you're doing-
Which starts about, yeah,
Because
about
what you're gonna do
21,
is a flat rate, it's always.
21 to 30 is when it starts.
so do we
Right
have to
there's
change
your money.
the before
Yeah.
school rates?
I mean, it depends on what you're offering for
Because-
latchkey.
Because now that we have breakfast at 7:45, and by the way, by doing that, our numbers, we feed up almost 60 kids for breakfast. When we were feeding at 8 o'clock, some of these kids said this is their whole world, this is their social, they would rather go out and play than eat. But they can't go outside till 8, so we started feeding them at 7:45. Well, that means if kids come in right at about 7:42, 7:43, Mrs. Pritchard said, are you having breakfast? If they are, they come and stand in line, they are not paying. So, and Mrs. Pritchard comes in at 7:30. 7:30. So, she's still being paid for that half hour. Are there enough kids? Does that need to raise?
At the very beginning, we only had just a couple. So Mrs. Pritchard talked to families, and there weren't enough people that were being affected to open the doors at 7:30 for kids to come in.
You mean
That's when we opened,
7:15?
we opened this up.
Yeah, at 7:15.
Yeah, and we did that when the roundabout, like when there was construction, because it was taking people
No, I think
long.
what Dorothy's asking is from 7:30 to 8, a lot of, 60 of these kids are eating breakfast. So we're not getting that many more kids in. So is the amount of kids covering Danny's wages?
Do we need to raise that a little bit to help?
So.
Because that's only
Yeah, so just
50
in,
cents.
yeah, just in the conversation, I think the morning is sustainable.
Okay.
I think there were times it
I
happened.
think so too. I think when you run the risk of
But you have
kids not
30
getting
kids,
fed
but
if
if they
were
get to their quarter till, they're not paying.
No, I'm not saying to charge the ones that came in at 7:45. I'm saying the ones that are coming in from 7:30 to 8 that aren't having breakfast, that are paying, is
Is
that the
there
rate?
any of them though?
I was gonna say, my question about latchkey is it even worth charging for, period? Or are we just creating more work for ourselves for not a lot of it? We have one person working a 30-minute shift and we're already, like, her wages are being paid out of the general fund.
We do, because the minute you don't charge, but you open up at 7:30, they are all in.
It's gonna be a floodgate.
When we had those few years of free because of that big after-school grant, oh yeah, they were dropped off at 7:30 to play basketball.
Yeah, you would need more staff.
Well, then why don't we just open at 7:45?
Because it's the parents that.
The parents that go to work.
It's to be to work at 8, and that doesn't give us enough time to drop kids off.
So do we need to run reports on like how many kids are we talking about?
No, I was just curious if it just needed to be bumped a little bit.
Like, what are we charging for a Latchkey?
$2 for half.
$2 for half an hour?
Yeah, I guess that's.
I don't think I'd mess with that one.
Do we have any kids that are using the morning but not the evening?
If I work for Trish or them, but I'm not getting charged because I'm being an employee at that point in time. But that's the only time I've ever used it at that point.
There's a couple that go in the morning and the parents get off the time to,
Yes,
There is a couple.
yeah, but not a lot.
not a lot. Yeah, I didn't run the morning report because the numbers, we have enough kids in here that it's sustainable. Yeah, I think it's fine, honestly, but just watching. And if we find out differently, we can always look at it and examine it and adjust it.
Healthcare reports are a nightmare. I played around with it to finally find the one I gave Dawn. I will run that every month this year now that I know where it's at. So, maybe we keep track of it.
Yeah, but I had to do all this about me.
You had to do all that.
Just a suggestion, not that you have to, it's not extreme, charge $20 to get breakfast and for the
Before and after.
7:30. Is that feasible?
Thank you, gentlemen.
You'd have to have.
Because that's all day.
Yeah, you'd
You're
have to have
talking
more
breakfast
staff in the morning. though.
and-
Yeah, you'd
You'd
have
have to have more
You'd have to have more
staff.
staff. Right now,
And breakfast is free for everybody.
Breakfast is free.
And
Yeah,
lunch is
our
free for
breakfast and
everybody.
lunch is free again.
I don't know if we're,
Yeah,
are we
it
this
is
year?
Next year,
I
yeah.
just
Yeah.
wonder, do we
Has
need
got
to
the
wait
email for that.
and get numbers, or can we just go with a number like $12 for the day or for the afternoon?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at, if we take the average just September as an example alone, in the afternoon it's bringing in about $168. What's the current rate? $3?
$3.
And then,
Per kid.
Per-
regardless. Yeah. so
per
they-
hour?
Yeah, $3 an hour per kid.
so I got $168. From 3:15 to 5:30 is what brought in by the daily average.
Okay.
Anybody crunch those numbers? So I'd be curious, that's what we have on average, and then probably have to hit a margin above that to budget and accommodate.
Well,
It's gonna take some formula work, like you had said.
I think you need to be looking at the
And
whole
then
year.
go from- and then
And
go
I don't
from
know
there.
that this monthly average thing actually helps anybody. It's an annual budget, you need to just take your total number of days per year, total number of kids per year, and work with that number. It'll simplify the math.
I know the working parent, for example, my brother will pay the price in order to make sure his kids are okay.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. I think the value's there, and I think my 2 cents is we do need to increase to cover, to sustain the program. And I think everyone's probably in agreement with that. We just need to find out what that number is, and we can step, we can take us, in the direction, but I think it does, makes it substantially bigger than it currently is.
Where the 7,000 loss is
Is there any way you can get a hold of the other school systems and see how many kids they have in their programs?
Well, like Kylan and your park?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, the only ones.
You know, if they're the only ones local here that have it, and go off with kind of their prices are going.
When did Kylan start theirs, Trish? Because Kylan didn't have them last year. They don't have theirs.
Yeah, then you might.
They used to have it, then they cut it, and
Yeah.
it started.
Kyla going until 5:30? What are they doing? I don't
I
remember.
think they're,
We could just go off of the ratio number.
I think it was 5:30.
But then you don't
So I
have
looked
to
at that and it was going to be every stretch for me to get there.
$10. I'm sorry, still with 12, still with 12, because they're gonna pay 12. That's $6.
I think you should just match Kyla and Deer Park prices. Like,
What,
why wouldn't
Kelsey?
you?
What'd you say?
Match Deer Park and Kyla prices. 6 for the first, 4 for the second. An hour or whatever it was, or do the $10 a day, like.
5 to 6, no matter
If we
whether you
did-
have. I mean,
I like the simplicity of
Flat rate.
a flat rate per day.
It's no different daycare.
It's just
Daycare's
fine as
the
a
same
number.
way, right?
Yeah, it's a
They
flat
pay
rate.
if they're there, they're not.
I mean, you're not talking about 8-hour
Is
days.
it 10 or is it 12? For
So-
2.5?
So that is a great question, and part of my question in this is, part of the problem is the day thing. So are you if you're charging $10 a day, fine, but you just mentioned the daycare piece. So So when I paid for daycare, and this has been a while ago, you wrote a monthly check. And whether your kid attended that month or not. So that's not how we've ever operated PJ. So if you're like on vacation or you don't need it that week or they do sports or whatever, and that's part of the problem with PJ is it does this constantly, but our staff does this.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there merit to potentially charging monthly versus daily?
Well, let me ask you that, because you guys brought up a great point. Would that make sense for your household if that was a monthly expense? That you knew you paid for a month for your kids?
I mean, I would do it.
Right.
But do you?
Well, but you could
so-
do it this, maybe.
I could do it either way, but
Maybe
I
this
would
would
make
make it
myself
too
do it.
complicated, but you could say, if you pay for the month, it's $10 a day.
Right. Or it's
If
12.
if it's $12 a day, if you're gonna pay daily.
Yeah.
Because I think if we got the money up front for those that are gonna pay for the month.
No.
Then you're not gonna end up, if we got the money up front, like Bob was just saying, $12, let's say hypothetically we charge $12 for the day. But if you pay for the month, it's $10. So there's a little bit of savings there. That's gonna eliminate a little bit of the ones that aren't gonna pay. Because now that everybody knows that there's a late fee, because I still think we need to have that late fee.
Oh,
And-
Now that everybody knows
Charge
there's a
for
late
it.
fee, they're gonna pay. But yeah, you give them a little bit of a discount if they pay for the month.
So do you
I
do
don't know
that
if that
monthly
works.
based on whether it's 18 days in the month, 20 days in the month times 10?
It's like December, we have like 2 weeks off.
Yeah, so.
Right,
Right.
but if you look at it,
You can figure out how many days.
Okay,
Oh,
or a
absolutely.
weekly rate, like even a weekly rate, even if it's $50 a week and you have to pay it by Monday morning or something, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what my point is if,
Prepaying
let's say
is
you always get off early on a Friday or whatever it is, we just have this flex, or you have a kid that's in sports and so they always miss every Tuesday because they have a volleyball game or whatever. That's part of the problem is we have a stagnant staff cost and a flexing PJ
yeah.
cost.
So really, we
Right?
need to tighten the PJ
Yeah.
cost, number one. But like, yeah, and then.
But that's a good, but
But
if
does
you
that
pay,
create
if you get it, if
This
you
one
get
gets
a credit
charged
for
10, this one
paying
gets charged 12.
a full week ahead,
Then my other
that
thing
gives
is,
us some more flexibility. The idea is to make enough extra that those stagnant,
Covers those
weird days
Right.
covers,
Correct.
takes care of that.
we also have seasonal workers that might, one of the spouses might get laid off, so then the kids don't need to go to
Right.
the program that month or
I
that.
think
program.
monthly is probably the ideal because it's hard to plan for a whole month.
And I mean,
Well, and the months vary, like we just
Yeah.
talked about.
Very.
and we have grandparents that are here for part of the fall and part of the spring, but they go to Arizona for the
Right.
winter. So I mean, yes,
Lucky
we
them.
utilize it probably
Right.
2/3 out of the year.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, if they weren't here and there's days that they can't get them.
So does
it's last minute.
a weekly make a lot of sense? I mean, if you're getting a discount for paying ahead of time for the whole week,
I would think so.
Not Positive
Depends.
Pro Care can do that.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I don't think ProCare can do that. The program they use, that you, some of them might charge $12 and some are charged 10. It does an automatic based on the check-in time and the check-out time on the computer.
Well, we're not gonna have a check-in and check-out.
It's
we
flat
don't
rate.
have
It's
to
a
do
flat
that.
rate.
Flat rate.
You don't need the check-in and check-out anymore, and you have a discount option available within ProCap. So when a parent pays, you can utilize the discount option.
I recommend doing that and then figuring out the procedure.
No.
Would that
Okay.
be considered contract billing instead of bundle billing?
I think so.
Because then we
Okay,
have
I'm
to change the
gonna get
contract.
this started and get it legal.
Yeah, we can always,
I move that we increase our rates to a flat rate of $10 an hour for weekly pay and
$10.
No, $10.
$10 a day for weekly pay and $12 a day for those who want to pay on daily.
all right, I have a motion, can we motion that?
You just did.
Perfect.
I just said-
Well, there's a lot of things I question we can. I'll take a second. Okay, any further discussion?
Now we can legally discuss it.
So the only question I got is what do we do in the morning?
I think the morning stays.
Just leave it on.
It has not seemed to be a problem.
So keep the hourly rate at $3 or whatever it is.
No, I know it's gonna screw you all up.
And it is, I paid for next week and I said my kids are gonna be here 3 days, so I'm just paying $30 because I prepaid it? Is that right?
No, oh, that's not how I took that.
No.
Well,
And then I decided to bring them 4 days.
No, I took it as school days. It's $50.
It's just $50 a week. But what if it's a 4-day weekend?
It's how many school days are
Then it's
How
on
many-
the calendar, right?
Okay,
Or
let's,
do you have to
$10
pay
a
for-
day by the number of school days there are.
And do you have to pay, say, you have a kid that gets sick, do you have to pay that day?
You already paid.
But if you already paid, when you have credit on the account?
No, because it's like daycare.
Okay, so that, yeah, that opens this, it's just having to figure out how that would work. Because they still have to be checked in and out that day to
So you
be,
know who's here.
so you know who, first of all, yes, we have an attendance. And secondly, it's so that it does deduct the 10. But if they, for example, if Katie's not here because she's sick, she's not gonna be checked in, so it's not gonna deduct 10 for her. So if you're gonna do this, that I'm paying for next week and I'm paying $100 because I have 2 kids.
Why do you have to screw everything up?
I'm just asking, because it's gonna come
I
up.
think,
Yeah.
It's complicated.
I think
It
my
is-
question would be, why do we have to keep using ProCare?
Well, I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the
made
thing
that.
is, we've got it's a fairly simple, system if we're doing it.
I did it on paper for years while I was making breakfast.
That's what I'm saying, we go
I
back.
had,
I see no reason to take ProCare to use their program when we don't need to.
And we don't like it, because we're trying to do something that they can't accommodate anyway.
Right.
Which they should be.
but yeah, I used to log based on the
That's another
sign
thing.
in and out sheet.
That's another one of those things, it might not be a lot of money, but it's a little bit of money that we save.
I had a little sheet per family and I would just mark it off in 15 minutes while I was making breakfast.
And whoever's in charge, the 2 people just have to keep track of who's there in the morning. Only because we want to know that they actually left.
We're not hiding.
all right, I think,
I have an app on my phone for daycare specifically, for my daycare, and it's called Brightwheel, but it tells when they're checked in and checked out specifically. And you can message them and any parent saying blah, 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 and it's like a group text to.
there are tools, there's more costs to them. And
I
we can-
don't know how much it
We can
is.
cross those bridges, but if we have to go with,
Right. I would
George,
prefer we
paper, pen,
try and
I
We
said,
ended up doing it after I took it over from her, and we did it on Google Sheets or Excel sheets.
Right, that's what I'm
Because
saying.
I have every
I would
family.
prefer we try and do it on our own before we say, oh, we can't do it. I mean, if you come to us and say, we can't do it, then we'll look at some of the programs.
Yep.
But,
what do we
Let's
pay
give
for
it a
the
try.
program? Do we pay?
I mean, there's Excel spreadsheets, there's Google Sheets, there's all kinds of things that we should do.
Lacey just said she could build a sheet.
I bet I can build it.
perfect. All right,
I can.
Lacey's giving herself more work.
So,
have a motion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
So the motion says to increase our rates to $10 per day if prepaid for the whole week, and $12 per day if paid for the day. Accurate? Making sure that the motion I have in the minutes matches what y'all
That
think you
sounds
just voted
right.
on.
What's our late fee again?
800.
So much a minute.
So much.
Yeah,
I
after
think it was
5:30.
$10,
After
I think it was like
And that's per child.
Yeah.
Yes,
Per
Yeah.
student.
yes, per student. Yes, and it was like $10 for every 10 minutes per
Okay.
child. So if you have 2 children, it's $20 for 10 minutes.
All right, motion passes.
Question, so if you, like say my kids are not gonna come this week, but then all of a sudden they have to that one day, because there's not money sitting like in an account, do
$12.
they just pay that $12 when you pick them up or whatever, so we can just write a check or cash or whatever? Okay.
And if you decide to stay until 5:30?
We prefer paid on days, but I mean,
Right.
obviously that hasn't been happening.
Yeah.
Which I mean, there's some of us, several families that do very well
They
in
keep
paying,
us going.
keeping money on their account, and there's several that do not.
Do we have a, general, like, level deposit for the account, like a minimum? Like, if you want to use PJ about $50 just to put it in the account.
We try. You can't, I mean, We've sent letters home every
But
year.
we do.
We've sent letters
Have a-
home at the
we have a-
beginning of the year
we have a
saying
number
you
or
need to have
something?
money
Okay.
in your account to be able to use it, and this is
Yep.
your rates, so, and I even sent some families that were getting behind last fall and said, your kids all come every day, this is about what you need in there a month, and that family paid every month that amount. It was
And
what
it's
that
3:10 to 5:30, correct? So I added a note.
3:15.
Within the motions, 3:15.
Yeah, because the kids get out at 3:10, so we give them 2 or 3 minutes to get here.
It says the current late fee will remain in place and the hours will remain the same. Readings hard, 3:15 to 5:30.
Sounds good.
It
So
doesn't say readings hard.
my
but it
question
is.
for you is if you have some that are paying 10 and some that are paying 12, does it create a nightmare of knowing who's paid in advance and who's paying for that day? Do you know what I'm saying?
The Google Sheet will handle that.
Oh, okay.
She's making the
And our deposit slips will do it too.
Trish is volunteered her time.
Awesome.
I'll help.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
I'll log in on Sheets based on what I,
You will.
Thank you guys for coming and talking about it, because it's really helpful when the board can hear like real world situations of how you're utilizing the program and how it would make sense to utilize the program so that they can make accurate decisions for our community.
That's why we're here.
We just thought you'd like to come and hang out at the board meeting.
Hey, Dawn, that'll be sent out as far as information to.
Yes. We'll get it in the handbook, we'll get letters out, it'll all go home.
And I'll update the website.
Yeah.
We have to have it in the right goals, and nobody will, oh, I didn't know.
No, we send it home, we send it home
Yes.
every year, the rates and everything, every
Yeah,
year, in the
okay.
packet that comes home on the first day of school.
Oh, with 30 other pages, so that's what I'm
yeah.
missing?
So then we're gonna ask all parents to let us know what, in a week in advance of trying to know ahead of time how many we're gonna,
If we
we
can.
have 2 staff.
Maybe not.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Well, it'd be nice to know, okay, we got 30 that day, maybe we need a 3rd person. Depends on the group of kids.
All right, we're gonna move on to the next item. Propane bids.
Okay, so we currently have CHS, cityservice.com for the this is last year, and then this year they reached out to me and asked if they could bid, and I said, yeah, absolutely, we'd love to review initial bids. So they sent me a bid, and it's the second one that was attached, and it was kind of a flex bid. He gave me this is what the price will be now, and so I emailed back and said, I need to know what it's gonna be the whole year. And he said, like, that's really tough, and I said, well, you're gonna have to do it, because that's what I get from CHS, so if you want your name in the hat, you're gonna have to give me a number. So then, that's when they came back with the $1.29. Their original bid said that your current price today would be $1.29, and that's what they sent me, and I said that. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
Because, anyway, so he said, well, that wouldn't be the whole time. So they came back and gave me a fixed rate for the other month. So that was his second proposal, was the one that you see attached. So I emailed CHS and said, what are you guys gonna bid this year, where are we at? Obviously, you saw a couple emails from me to get them, and then they just said they're gonna give us the same exact rate we have this current year. So I think it's a no-brainer.
So, well, one
But-
question, are there surcharges and chain-up fees and
No.
all that?
No.
And there's no question.
I think it's we just stay with CHS in my opinion, because they're still killing the rate by a ways. But y'all get to make the motion and vote. That's just my presentation.
I'm going to the second.
Second motion. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. That concludes our action agenda. Next, we are under correspondence.
So we had a note from Hannah DeLong, who received a $500 scholarship for college from our school, Dear Smith Valley School. I'm honored to be chosen as the 2024 scholarship recipient. I'm so thankful for my time in Smith Valley. Your investment in my future goals means a lot. Sincerely, Emma DeLong. So that was nice for her to write a letter.
Great, thanks for sharing. All right, and no special discussion?
Yes. So the exciting thing is Hot Springs School is selling a portable that's a zoo wide, and it measures 13 by 53, so for square footage, 689 square feet on the inside. It has 2 bathrooms. put in that learning loss, part of it, learning loss contract services, that's what you could use as like 5,500 or something that's less than that. So that would go towards the cost of moving each. And there would be some setup fees, but when you look at the fact that you're getting a portable and you can have that area for those people and those students, I think that's a pretty big deal. But like I said, we need to hear what the ministry said, you know, what their plan is.
They're gonna have to come up with an awesome number, you know.
So if we're interested, we have to have a special board meeting and we'll talk about it, but it's something for you to.
Can you email all that stuff?
I sure can, do that.
I know that the board meeting get on this.
Yep.
Like Adams, you can just start looking back, helping.
So I just went and saw it on Saturday, so I just learned about it last week, and I went, at 8:30, I was in Hot Springs on Saturday morning looking at this building, or this modular.
It would do too, I mean, we're gonna have to set it up, so we'll have to run water and sewer to it. But what that would do is, if we end up not in a position to use this, then in the future, if we do need classrooms, we've already got our sewer and water run. We just move that
Well, what
out.
I was thinking is the best place for it would be out here, like right here, you go parallel to this building, we've got a flat surface board, it can connect to the sewer and water that's right here, because we've already got it right there. And then there's a little, that little breezeway right there, that little cover, you can walk out, be semi-protected, build maybe another extension, have a short sidewalk to access the handicap ramp, and it's set up.
How many kids it holds? How long is it?
So-
2 bedrooms, full length, total length?
So if interior is 13 by 15.
No, I don't want to know it. Out.
So I don't have that measurement.
The exterior
I was gonna say
means
probably
a lot more.
Adequate
As far as
or
work.
what
And then we'll put concrete barriers for the vehicles that slide down the hill. Right? No, I'm not kidding, I'm serious, because they slide down the hill.
If it's down there, not very.
We could just take the parking out.
Well, you could.
You could, yes, you could. I did send an email to McKinstry asking for an update, since we don't have one yet. They did get out here a couple different times recently and get a couple different people out here. I know they did a roofing bid as well as an internal look at the walls, so hoping to hear back from them soon on the 300 building. And I don't know that I fully agree on that they're not gonna come up with a number, because they were talking about being, we talked about cutting costs and making it like a 1 classroom or a 2 classrooms over there and slimming it down, and we just put $455,000 into our interlocal fund, which already has money in it, plus we have the Gorman School Fund. I don't know.
How much is in the Gorman School Fund?
192,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, it's like 198 or 192 somewhere, it's 190 something. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna be getting kind of close to a number of at least getting the bones back in that building,
That
so.
number, yeah, I mean, I would assume.
And my
That
question,
number's got to be in the last.
my question to Mrs. Matt was, and to OPI, is that if we can use our ESSER funds toward that portable, is then can we use those ESSER funds toward a counselor space in the 300 building?
Well,
Because if
and I
we
don't
can
see
take
why
this
not.
$28,000 of ESSER and put it over there, then you've got the 28,000 plus the Gorman plus the 155 we just sent to interlocal plus what we already had in interlocal, like we might be there then.
Well, and the big thing, if we can get the roof done, and I mean, like I said, the big thing is, if we don't move any walls, we just have walls to be covered. If we're not moving.
Yeah, my question was, if we use this 28 grand on the roof, because it's technically for a counselor space? We've gotten pretty creative with COVID money, let's be honest. Everybody has.
I don't know if I want to.
Everybody has.
So the thing about getting the portable is that we immediately have it.
Right,
So
well,
that's,
very.
I mean, with that.
Personally, I think that's too much money to spend when it doesn't get you a classroom. It gets you workspace that frees up a couple little rooms, but it doesn't make a classroom.
If we can't make a classroom, then yeah, are we dependent
Well,
on money?
we're not only short classrooms,
We're short office.
yeah, there's counselors and stuff like that that are sharing,
Trish, you want your own office?
Three of them.
That's what
You want your own office? Babysit?
Yeah,
office?
full short classrooms.
gonna have a great gig.
There's any space I can welcome, but I also agree we shouldn't make a decision until we at least see the answer. So I think we got ready for a special meeting, but didn't decide on that until we got an answer. I think that would be the best.
So I can go ahead and send all of you the information that they have. Absolutely. And like I said, I just went out Saturday and took pictures and I
It's
shared
just
them.
an idea. It would be an ideal if we can get it for, 30,000.
That's what I was thinking, 30.
So I would say if we look into
Where we don't spend,
Oh, it's only 8 years old.
that's newer than the one we put in before.
I know.
So maybe look at how much the shipping gonna cost us, and then that'll kind of help dictate, so if we wanna go that route, we kind of know, hey, this is shipping, so whatever we wanna bid on it.
And your setup costs.
And your setup costs.
What?
And your setup costs.
Yeah, so, yeah. We'll start researching that, and we'll pull any triggers or have any meetings, and then we'll get back.
So if
The
you
sewer is
can get
easy.
something scheduled.
All we gotta do is we just patch in here. So it's.
If you put it out.
It's logistically easy. If the county and city. will-
Right, it's county and city. We don't have to worry about it.
Stop, extension cords, just run.
We can lay our
So
pipe
does-
on the top.
Is the septic system that's in the front yard, is that capped off?
No,
So that's still accessible and usable?
for that, no.
I didn't think that one's used that anymore. I thought that one got tied into that.
Oh, I don't know, I wasn't here then.
We should just put that modular.
No, we had a.
There is a septic, there's the electric system in the middle.
There you go,
There's also.
It's done.
It's not.
Yeah, well, it's not.
What do you think, Jay? You guys are nailed it.
Yeah, nobody could, yeah.
The whole idea of leaving that on there was so we could use
It doesn't work.
So, yeah, so the water,
There's not enough water that comes out of it.
yeah, so it was supposed to be, I can't think what the word is, where they saw off the top and
Cap.
then
Cap and seal.
cap and seal. That's what's supposed to happen like 2 years ago. Yeah, and it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, but when we left it there, it was originally, it's gonna be, that's our irrigation water, we can water the yards.
Is that gonna be affected by the roundabout?
No.
That's up front, isn't it?
It's-
What's out front
it's-
over here? Is
That's
that-
over here, that's, septic.
That's septic.
Okay. And it's probably not used.
We want to just thank you all for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Greatly appreciate it.
Sorry, Ashley.
Being
It's that time of year.
You're forgiven.
Thank you, Kelsey.
My wife's like, well, you were there, and I'm like, no.
Are we adjourned?
Then we get new animals, mules. Okay.